Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Last night, I had the opportunity to MC a program for the Mensch International Foundation. They give awards to various individuals who have in some way distinguished themselves as honorable human beings. It was my pleasure to be able to hear Frank Kendall, the former Secretary of the Air Force, who was, as he put it, fired by Donald Trump. Kendall served 4 years as the Secretary of the Air Force. He served honorably, with distinction, and yet Donald Trump dumped him. Well, that wasn't the important thing that occurred last night. Kendall laid out in clear and precise terms his fear about authoritarianism and his fear about what Donald Trump is doing. It was not a direct frontal attack on the president. Rather, it was a statement made carefully and considered about what Donald Trump is doing and how he's doing it. So I told Secretary Kendall that I was going to begin this morning by saying what an honor it was to appear on the program. And by the way, his remarks were received with a thunderous ovation. I want now to reflect on another San Franciscan, Charles Breyer, federal court judge. And this is what he said just yesterday in his judgment dealing with Donald Trump and the events of this day. The evidence at trial established that Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth systematically used armed soldiers whose identity was often obscured by protective armor and military vehicles to set up protective perimeters and traffic blockades, engage in crowd control, and otherwise demonstrate a military presence in and around Los Angeles. He cited President Trump's recent statement that he planned to send troops to other cities, including Oakland and San Francisco, to combat a supposed upsurge in crime, creating, as Breyer put it most eloquently, a national police force with the president as its chief. I spoke with someone yesterday during the course of the awards who is a regular listener to this podcast, and who said to me, John, do you realize that you are spending an inordinate amount of time on the question of Donald Trump? And the answer is, I do. And I don't apologize for it. I believe that we have to be alert to dangers to our democracy. And without a doubt, and I say this without any hesitation, what Donald Trump has done has created a major threat to democratic institutions in the United States of America. But something else happened yesterday in the world that deserves discussion. 3 foreign leaders, Vladimir Putin, the president of China, and the dictator of North Korea, stood together to form an alliance that frankly will serve against the United States of America. The President of the United States properly addressed this question. But what is not being addressed is why this coalition is being formed. Talk about an access of evil. Remember the term that former President George W. Bush coined as the Iraq War progressed? This is something that we need to understand. In the world today, the United States of America is becoming more isolated. One of the things I learned during our vacation in Europe was the antipathy that the world holds for Donald Trump. Why do I say that? Because people stopped me repeatedly and incredulously posed the question, what is going on in the United States? What is going on with Donald Trump? How do the American people stomach this? And they're right. We should ask ourselves that question. And that was the question that Secretary Kendall posed yesterday to a crowd of people who came not for political gathering, but to honor people who have made a genuine contribution to our country. I want to address another matter that disturbs me greatly, and that has to do with the Trump family enhancement of its own personal wealth. To be honest with you, as a student of the American presidency, I have never seen such corruption in my life. This business of Bitcoin and, well, all of the other accoutrements surrounding it that have been exploited by the Trump family to the tune of billions of dollars is to me unconscionable. There was a time when a president of the United States divested himself of all interests so there could be no conflict. I always remember Jimmy Carter, who gave up control of his peanut farm when he became president. And by the way, when he resumed control after his presidency, the peanut business had gone bankrupt. But Jimmy Carter understood that that was the price of the presidency. You don't personally profit from the presidency of the United States. And may I suggest to you, in the strongest possible terms, that you read Harry Truman's book, Mr. Citizen, published in 1959. Truman wrote about the ex-presidency, and he talked about the great care that he took to ensure that no one could accuse him of exploiting the presidency of the United States. There is a corruption that is creeping, no, galloping through our republic, and that corruption is epitomized by the Trump family. There is something terribly wrong, and I say it without any hesitation or doubt. I wanted to talk about these matters with you today because I think it is important to address directly what is happening to our country. At home and abroad, Donald Trump is wreaking havoc. There is no stability here. There is rather incredulity that a great republic, could lose its way so quickly. As one observer pointed out to me, he hasn't been in office that long. How is all this happening? And that is, my friends, the question I pose to you today. I believe that it is our obligation to continue to talk about what Donald Trump is doing and the chaos he is creating, and I'm going to keep doing it. I hope that you understand my reasoning. My reasoning is very clear. It is, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, a republic, if we can keep it. Read justice in this in terms of how we respond. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. I want to say to you that you can follow me and you can communicate with me by going to the various vehicles that we have established. LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course, contacting me directly by email. I want to say a special word of thanks to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this program. She keeps us up and running every day. I'll be back tomorrow, right here, with another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.